Welcome back to the John and Linetia Show.
The following is a test of the emergency broadcast system. This is only a test.
Hey, yo, there's an emergency thing happening. Run away.
The proceeding was a test of the emergency broadcast system.
All right, we're back. So, big story in U.S. war news, I guess you could say.
Yes.
Was
sad.
a soldier in Afghanistan who apparently had some kind of mental issues, or at least had head injury issues, and just seemed to just murdered 16 Afghans.
Yes.
The thing that I want to focus on here is this fact. If there were, let's just say anything. Let's just say somebody snapped. There was an Afghan living in the United States, and let's say he was I don't know, he was a police officer in Afghanistan, came to visit, family in the U.S. And went in a neighborhood and went on a rampage and killed 16 people.
Right.
Okay. What would the reaction of our country be? What would the reaction of our politicians be? Especially, we know that, if it were to happen in the U.S. like that, the politicians, the first thing they would do is they would call attention to the fact that the guy's a Muslim. Okay? And the second thing they would do is they would basically, say, it doesn't matter who he is, and he's in the country here, whether he's an Afghan national or not, he should be tried here under our system and all of that. But ultimately, what would happen is that we would have these people, on the far right and the far left, maybe even, talking about how, this was a terrorist, a Muslim, and it would paint let's say, Afghan people, would paint Arabs in a bad light. So let's look at what we've got now. We've got this American soldier who has killed people in this country that we are occupying.
Yes.
And we've got a lot of our politicians who are, I don't want to necessarily say that they're dismissing it, but they are trying to downplay it as much as possible. Okay.
For good reason.
I don't know if it's good reason, because
Okay.
it is a major thing.
It is.
Quite honestly, the way I look at it, you look at this and you allow Afghan authorities to essentially take custody of this guy and let it go through their legal system, however it may be. Because again, if it happened the other way in the United States, we would demand that. Okay, we wouldn't say, okay, you can go back to Afghanistan and face trial there. The other thing is that we should not be surprised then if Arabs look at Americans and say, look at these brutal American people who kill these innocents. To them, this would look like a terrorist attack.
Yes.
Okay.
Just reverse.
And you can say about how this guy was deranged and was a crazy person all you want. Hate to tell you this, but most of the people who were involved in 9/11, we kept hearing word deranged and crazy people. Okay. My point of this is that, we might be getting back some, I don't want to say, we might be getting back what we give as a people who, might get xenophobic about any kind of, attacks or military type thing, or even, terrorist things, When we look at terrorists, and we would say, we would add an adjective and call them Arab terrorists or Muslim terrorists. Both of those terms are wrong, okay? Because, there are a heck of a lot more Arabs who are not terrorists. There's a heck of a lot more Muslims who are peaceful.
Correct.
And it just rankles me. I'm interested to see how this plays out, because the hypocrisy of it all will probably come back. People will on the far right, maybe even in the center. A lot of people are going to look at it and say, well, it's an American citizen and it was a mistake, and just by us apologizing, everything should be fine. Because, again, if you look at the golden rule, if you turn it around and see if it happened to us, would we act the same way? And, hey, recent history has said no.
I think they're really trying to downplay it also because, they don't want to start another war after Obama is trying to get, all of the troops home now.
Well, I mean, the Republicans don't want to start another war in Afghanistan. They want to start a war with Iran.
Mm-hmm.
But and we'd like to get out of Afghanistan at some point. The problem being that there's tons of Taliban around there, and things like this only make it more difficult for us to leave because it makes the support of these terrorist organizations stronger in these countries. But again, if it happened in the U.S., we would have one view of this, and it would be, damn those Arabs, damn those, Muslims. Whereas, hey, can you blame anyone in Afghanistan from saying, damn those Americans, damn those Christians for doing it to us?
Right. Any type of medical history on this dude at all?
You mean other than the head injury?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm trying to understand, and I'm not sure how the military works, because I've never been in the military. But don't they do like some type of tests or physicals or something before you get in there?
You would think, but I think ultimately, especially because this guy had several tours of duty, a sane person would know, because this guy was in Iraq, okay, and probably was had a whole heck of a lot of maybe wasn't in battles, but you're on your guard for so much. After a while, you get shell shock. After a while,
something else that I was going to ask about that. I really, really thought about that because so many of our troops come back home, and there are things going on with them because they've been over there so long.
Sure.
I'm wanting to just have an effect on that, but it doesn't take away from the fact that what he did, I think, was just wrong.
Well, what he did was wrong, and it's as a people, the American people, our reaction to this is going to say a whole heck of a lot to the international community, because, again, how would we react if it happened to us?
Right. It's really sad.
Yeah.
It's really, really sad. Well, speaking of sad, did you see the story about the children living on a school bus?
I saw a little bit about it. Yeah, like the parents were in jail.
Yes,
It's happened in Texas.
In Texas, and I really feel bad for children. I truly do. My heart lies with them.
All children?
All children.
Everywhere?
Everywhere, all the time.
Even Hitler's kids?
Anyway, thanks, John. Appreciate it. This is a sad story.
I'm sorry. You said you feel bad for children, and I...
Well, I have an issue of children being abused. And this is a form of abuse, I feel. Their parents are in jail.
Right.
So, in other words, our system failed some more children.
You know what? I don't want to blame the system. I'm tired of blaming the system because there's a certain amount of personal responsibility. So I would blame their family. I would blame whoever was supposed to be guardians of the children. Okay?
Right.
And
because
from
they
what I
did
understand,
say that the aunt was in charge.
Right.
Where is she?
So again, we're not talking about a foster home and people they didn't know. We're talking about someone whose family who dropped the ball. And the kids are living in an old school bus.
But when I say the system failed, DCFS was supposed to be checking on them, and they claim everything was fine. I would have to beg to differ.
Well, again, they would announce their checks, and maybe the aunt got around. But again, it's isn't it society? Isn't it who is ultimately responsible for the kids when the parents are put in jail? Should the kids have gone to jail with the parents? You think?
No, they should have been put into a foster home.
But they were with the aunt.
Supposedly with the aunt.
Well, they were they were placed with the aunt. Now, was the aunt with the kids?
Right, on the school bus.
On the school bus.
which supposedly had hot and cold running water and a shower.
Oh, that's a heck of a good school bus.
That's a freaking big school bus.
Well,
But the parents said whenever they got out of jail, they were going to get around to building that house for them. I really think this is sad.
Yeah.
I think this needs to be really, really looked into, and I just feel like this is just a big old fail for our system.
we'll be right back after these words from Chips and Salsa. Chips and Salsa. What better way to have fun and snack at the same time? That's Chips and Salsa. Buy it wherever chips and salsa are sold.
You're listening to the John and Linetia Show.